Excited to invite Chris Winter, our defensive coordinator, and Matt Wheeler, our offensive coordinator, to join me here today. And so I'll just kind of start off, and then when we get to the question part, I might rely on them for some help. Well, obviously, it's always exciting to start a new season, and we welcomed 130 guys back to campus here on the 15th of August, so we've been going for quite a while. We think we have a great group, a group that reported in shape and has been working really hard. We've had a really good start here for the first week and a half, and we have what we believe, I don't know that I've verified this, but we have what we believe is the largest senior class in Wartburg football history with 30 seniors. And so we're excited about what that can mean in terms of the leadership and chemistry of our football team. We just completed our 12th practice. We're allowed 25 practices before the first game, so we're about halfway there. And it's like it always is in camp. You're always trying to find that balance between, going as hard as you need to get better, and at the same time trying to keep guys healthy and fresh and that sort of thing. Last Sunday evening, we completed about 110 play intra-squad scrimmage. And then we have our kind of annual, I guess you'd say, our Platteville preseason scrimmage coming up this Thursday, and that'll be up there this year. Just go quickly through here our guys and our defense and our offense side of the ball. Like I said, excited to have our coordinators here. I think. Two of the most decorated players in the history of Wartburg football running our offense and defense. And, here, I guess, today representing what I think's an outstanding staff that is very committed and diverse. We've got diverse in a lot of different ways. We've got a number of Wartburg alums on our staff. We've got some pretty interesting guys from great programs outside of Wartburg that bring us some great perspectives. We've got guys on our staff that are in their 70s and guys on our staff that just graduated last year, and so that's kind of always interesting when you've got a 24-year-old sitting in there with a 70-something-year-old talking about different things. And so we're excited about that. Coach Winter has been part of Wartburg football as a player basically for 5 years. He had an extra year because of an unfortunate injury, and then as a coach now for 11 years, his 5th year as our defensive coordinator. And Matt Wheeler, obviously a great quarterback here, took a little different route, went and was a GA, and then had some success coaching at a startup program, and then has been back at Wartburg with us for 6 years now as our offensive coordinator. I think one of the great things, the great keys to our ability to have success is the continuity that we've been able to have in the leadership on our staff, the commitment that these guys demonstrate, and the understanding that they have for what Wartburg College and Wartburg football is all about. Our team this year, I think, is pretty interesting. I think we have a balanced team in several regards. Balanced in terms of offense and defense. I think we have a chance to be good in not offense, defense, and in the kicking game in all three phases of the game of football. And we have great balance really across our position groups. As I go through our position groups here, we really have, I guess you'd say, at least one, maybe in some cases more than one leader in that group that's been an all-conference player. So there's not any glaring spots on our team where we just don't have experience returning, so we're excited about that. Defensively, in the defensive line, we returned 3 starters from last year. Cole Hinders was an all-conference player a year ago. Nick Clausen kind of came out of nowhere last year in his junior year and had a great year, and so we're excited about what he'll bring. And then Joe Stearns was one of our starters on the inside. A couple guys that haven't played as much but are going to play a much bigger role this year are guys like Hunter Baldus and Dalton Civarelli. Our linebacker group is is led by two returning all-conference players in Will Jansen and Gunnar Tranel. And then kind of a local guy from North Butler, Rob Rotler, has emerged as our probably our third starter there. And then we've got some outstanding depth at that position as well, with guys like Mason Simon Wrestler, Brandon Schott, and Sam Ambrose. In the DB group, Logan Pitts was first-team all-conference player a year ago. And then James Garlock and Sawyer Anderson at the safety spots both started at probably at least half the games for us a year ago. And Jermaine Dorsey at the other corner has started games for us in the past, has played a lot as a third corner in the game, so has a lot of experience. And then Greg Foof is a senior that's been working hard in our program and is going to do a great job for us this year as well, and will be important to that group. Offensively, the offensive line, Chase Wilhelms is the most decorated player returning as our left guard. Bronson Tatum and Nick Jensen both started, again, a number of games a year ago. So although we lost three seniors from last year's team in our offensive line, we feel like we have three guys that have played a lot coming back. And then, we've got guys that have been working hard and developing, like Nolan Boyd and Ben Larson, both from New Hampton. Ben's a guy that missed a year with injury, so it's been a while since he's played, and he's getting back into that. And then a young guy, sophomore, that has developed and is emerging in that group is Derek Schipper. Our running backs, Brandon Domeyer, I guess back for probably his fourth year as a starter for us, was all-conference, second-team all-conference a year ago. So, we have some experience there, and then we've got guys like Jake Haberman, who's had really probably as strong a camp as anybody on our football team up to this point, and Parker Hamill providing great depth for us at that position. Our receivers are led by Robbie Anstetter, first-team all-conference player a year ago, and other seniors, Jordan Schmidt, Mitch Frericks, and then Zach Hiller, who's really been a quarterback in our program up to this point, but obviously we've got a pretty good one of those right now, and so he wants to try to find a way to get on the field, and he's really been working hard to try to make himself, I guess, into a receiver, and he's done a great job of that because he's had a nice camp and has, I think, earned himself some opportunities. Bryce Evans is a young player from Ankeny that has had a nice camp as well. It is kind of a hybrid between a back and a receiver that's going to do some things for us in both roles. Our tight end, Mitch Ram, started last year for us, kind of with Jake Holstein, who graduated, but those two were an outstanding pair. Mitch is back, and then we've got probably three guys kind of fighting to figure out what the depth's going to be at that spot behind Mitch, and that's Seth Hessness, Michael Lincoln, and then Colin Workman, a young man from Waverly here that transferred back to us. Our quarterback, obviously Logan Schrader, the Iowa Conference Offensive Player of the Year last year, very decorated, honors from a year ago, and here in the preseason, Logan's been doing a great job through the camp, and we certainly are blessed to have somebody like him leading our team here for this season, and expect great things from him. We've been really excited about the emergence of Matt Sasha, who's only been here with us, is just a first-year guy for however many 12 practices, I guess now. And from North Scott High School, he's done a great job of picking things up and has a really bright future and will play an important role backing up Logan this season. Our specialists, Grant Zimmerman and Michael Bulkey. Grant Zimmerman, our punter, Michael Bulkey, our place kicker, both return. They're both seniors. They have a lot of experience and have had success. So the newcomers really, I think, that have the chance to make most impact at this point in time are really probably Matt Sasha and Colin Workman, on the offense, and Chris McNutt from Solon, another transfer from Iowa Central Community College, and Tucker Tangy, a freshman from New Hampton, on defense. Those are probably the freshmen that are most kind of in the mix at this point. We open up on September 5th with Augsburg. It's the exact same schedule we played a year ago, just in reverse. So that'll be a night game here at 7 o'clock. It'll be community night. We'll try to thank the community for their support, and hopefully it's the freshman students, first-year students at Wartburg College will be here by then, but the rest of our students may not be because we don't start school till the 9th of September. It's a great reason for students to want to come to Wartburg. I mean, they get a longer summer, so most schools have been in session for a few weeks by then. Then we go up to Bethel on the 12th of September for, what's sure to be a great ball game, and then up to Stout on the 19th. We're off on the 26th, and then start Iowa Conference play for homecoming here against Central on the first Saturday in October. So, I was just talking with Coach Wheeler before we came over, and when you go out today, and we'll have some of the guys down there for you to talk to. Don't tell Logan Schrader this, because we don't want to upset him at this point in time. But after I summarized all this and so forth, we have about 75% of our rushing yards from last year's team returning, and we lost about 2/3, about 66% of our receiving yards. So we're just going to run the ball all year. That's what we're going to do. No, I'm just kidding. When you got a quarterback like Logan, but anyway, why don't you guys slide up here in case anybody wants to ask you guys some questions too, and we'll be happy to try to answer anything that you might be wondering.
Taylor Jacobsmeyer, probably one of the most unique players you guys have ever had. Losing him, where do you get explosiveness from the offense without Taylor?
Yeah, well, it's hard to come up with another player like Taylor Jacobsmeyer. Those players are not necessarily on your team every year. You're lucky if you have a guy like that. Maybe once every 10 years you have a guy like that on your team. So I don't know that we can just say we're going to replace that explosiveness per se, but certainly there's other guys that we hope can develop into being explosive players, and things that we can do that might be similar to what we did with Taylor, but might be a little bit different. So, Wheels, I don't know if you want to try to take a stab at that.
Sure, that fits. That's a pretty fair statement there. It's been a challenge to the receiving corps all camp so far, and I guess last spring when it really began, on who's going to kind of step up to be the deep threat. Where can we find, or which guy is going to kind of take some ownership in that role? But also, as Coach mentioned in his preamble there about Zach Hiller moving from the quarterback position to the wide receiver position, that we enjoyed some of that versatility, because that's the same move that Taylor Jacobsmeyer had made, and that's part of what opened up some elements to our offense as well. So Zach is a very good athlete too. So who knows how that all shake out, but that's certainly something we're trying to address, and we'll find ways to spread the ball around.
Coach, what's that mean to you, being ranked 6th in the nation in the preseason poll?
That means we had a good football team last year. It's always nice for people to recognize our program and have respect for what we've been able to accomplish. But, and we've been talking about this with our team. Those things really don't mean a bunch. Last year's team was great. We had a great run, and it was fun, but that's done. We're not focused on that anymore. We're not thinking about those types of things. We're thinking about what do we have to do with the guys we have this year to try to do something like that again or more, and we know that we're going to have to earn everything we get again, just like we had to a year ago. So, while it's nice to be recognized, it's nothing really more than that.
Coach, how important is it to have both your running back and your quarterback back for their senior years, especially when you lose a bunch of guys on the perimeter and a younger offensive line, that cohesiveness, I guess that comfort level for you and for the offensive coordinator?
Well, I think it's a pretty big deal. Those guys are established players in our league. They're great guys that practice well, that lead well, that do all the things that you would want a player to do. I remember, what year would it have been? 2011, at the scrimmage on Sunday night that we just completed, when those two guys were in their first year. And I don't know if the coaches will remember me saying this to them or not, but I remember saying, like, well, I know one thing, there aren't too many places that have two freshmen, out there in that scrimmage doing what those two guys did. Well, those two guys are seniors now, and they've already done great things for us, and, I know that they're focused on doing everything they can to try to make this last year the best year they've had. And so, it's always important when your starting quarterback, is back. That's a huge asset to not just your offense, but to your football team. And so, hopefully we'll be able to take advantage of that as we move forward.
Coach, Mark Farley, in his press conference, said that he tries to think in terms of where is football headed in 2 years? Where is it headed in 3 years? That's in the FCS division. Where do you see football headed in Division III as far as the style of play, the use of the type of players that are available? Things evolved to the spread offense in some other divisions. Where do you see Division III heading in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think everything kind of trickles down, and so at some point in time, the things that you see happening on TV become relevant, I guess, at our level of play. And sometimes it takes people watching those things, then going and studying with different people, and then all of a sudden you see those things happening in our league. And I think that's already. I mean, it's a continuous process, and so I think you'll see much of the same things you're seeing in football when you watch it, on TV or at the larger schools happening in Division III, with people playing fast, that sort of thing. I think you're already seeing a lot of people that are in, more spread out formations, using more space and things like that. So, but at the same time, the thing that, I guess, if you're in football long enough, football tends to kind of be circular, and so things kind of come and go. So something that was popular 25 years ago went out of style and may come back into style. There's people doing things a lot of different ways. You can be in a no huddle offense, still use 2 tight ends. You can, so no huddle and quick doesn't necessarily mean spread. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways to do things. And so the thing that's unique about Division III is we don't get as much time with our players as they do, obviously, in the NFL or at larger schools. I mean, the amount of spring football we have, and some of those things. I mean, it's one of the hallmarks of Division III, the balance between our guys being serious students and committed athletes is, very important to us.
Follow-up. And I mentioned this to you before you came up to the table. Some schools have teams. You've got a sustained program. You mentioned that the coaching staff and the cohesiveness, the longevity of the coaching staff is one of the keys. Is there any other key to making it a program and not just a team from year to year?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that go into that. I think it starts with the place, Wartburg College, the place, supporting what we're trying to do here. And it's not just football, it's our entire athletic program. That athletics is an important part of what we're doing at Wartburg College, how it can enhance the overall experience that a student has during their time here. Our belief in that allows us to support it in a way for us to have success. And then you're able to find guys like the guys sitting next to me that believe in that and provide continuity and that type of thing, and that work hard to, I guess, at Wartburg, our terminology is to tell our story, to go out and promote Wartburg and get the type of individuals to come to our school that allow us to have success. And, the way we do that is by, having great academics, having great athletics, the combination of the two. Obviously, facilities are important, but that's part of support. So there's tons of things that go into that, but Wartburg enjoys, I think, a great reputation, especially within this, whatever you want, 3-hour radius of Waverly. If you check our roster, that's still the core guys in Wartburg football. And that has been over the years, and that's still the way it is. And so, I think we've gotten to a point where you're able to have, things just kind of perpetuate itself. When you have some success and you've got good people and, and you just keep doing what you do, you're able to have that happen.
Chris, every year you've been at the DC, you've had a shutdown corner. Do you have that again this year, you think?
Yeah, I certainly believe that. I mean, Coach mentioned, Logan Pitts, first team all-conference guy for us a year ago, has been, a 2-year starter and has gotten better every year. And we're certainly going to rely on, Logan in some of those situations when we have a matchup with a, certain wideout or a certain, guy in the league that might be a difference maker where he can match up pretty well. And we've had some pretty good battles already going between him and, Robbie Anstetter, our first team all-conference guy in camp. And the way those guys compete out there, I have no doubt, Logan can kind of be that next guy for us. That's kind of shut down corner like you had, Spencer Capitani a year ago, and prior to him, Josh Van and Hall. And when Coach was coaching, you had guys like Cody Kelly. So we've been fortunate to be blessed with pretty darn good corners, and I think we got another one, coming into this season. So.
Coach, in the last 5 years, not many teams can say they were able to hang with Wisconsin Whitewater. What do you think your team learned through that loss so that you hope to carry into this season?
Well, I think they learned, how difficult it is to, finish off games and to actually beat teams like that. You have to play. The margin for error is very small. I think that's probably the biggest thing. You can play great for 85, 90% of the game, but if you don't play great for 100% of the game, you're probably not going to win against teams like that. And so, we talk about that a lot. I think we believe that our success is going to be determined by us, that, it's about us and the things that we can control. And if we do a good job of those things, what our opponents do is not irrelevant, but it's not really what's going to matter as much as what we do. And I think that game's a good example of that. There was a few things that happened late in that game that, we had control of, that, had we been able to do something ourselves better, we may have had a different outcome. So I think it's mostly just the margin for error and what it takes to win games like the ones we won the couple weeks before that in the playoffs. I think they learned that. I think they learned that as you keep going, it just keeps getting, tougher and tougher.
Rick, having said that, with so many seniors on this team, is there any thought at all that maybe they had some unfinished business last year, considering how close they came against Whitewater?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's any doubt that that's motivation for our guys. When you get a chance to be in those type of environments, I think you want more of that type of environment. I think you want more feelings like you had in the locker room after those couple playoff games. And I think there's no mystery to why the teams you see advancing through the playoffs kind of tend to be some of the same teams year after year, because it's kind of a learned habit. Once you've kind of learned how to do it, you have a better chance to be able to repeat that. And I think our team is definitely hungry for more. They want more. But at the same time, we realize that, like I said earlier, that we're going to have to earn that every step of the way. And we're not going to surprise anybody as we head into this year. And, our first goal, to be clear, first and foremost every year is to win the Iowa Conference Championship. And anything beyond that, we'll talk about if we get to that point. So we've got to get that thing done first and then worry about what's after that.
Coach, one of the biggest things going on in football at all levels, high school, college, professional, the emphasis of points of contact, the head injuries, concussions, whatnot, the variety of different penalties you can get, called on you for hitting a guy low or leading with the head or even a shoulder to the helmet. How much of that goes into coaching? And then, what are your thoughts on the overall, the quality of the penalties that are called? Do you feel like there's a lot more flags than there were? Obviously, there are a lot more than there were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. Do you feel like it's getting to a point where it's too much? You can't just allow the kids to go there?
There's a fine line there. I don't think there's any question about that. I think you have to be concerned about player safety. There's science out there that wasn't there years ago, the things we know that we didn't know before that we need to pay attention to. There's no doubt about that. It's still football, and for it to still be football, it still has to be played a certain way, and so there is a balance to that. There's no doubt that coaching goes into trying to do those things better, and we've made some adjustments in that regard. We've changed some of our tackling progression and teaching just headed into this season. And again, kind of like the question earlier, why do we do that? Well, it started happening. Somebody at a higher level came up with a way to maybe do this better, and that's kind of trickling through football right now. Coach, I don't know if you want to expand on that because you've been the leader in that, but
Yeah, we've kind of done a little. We did a study here, over the summer, and the Seahawks have really been pushing it for the last couple of years. They kind of had a campaign going on about, taking the head out of the tackle and just where the head placement is on contact and those type of things. And you're starting to see that being, adopted more and more by a lot of programs at all levels, like Coach is saying. And it's really been pushed pretty hard, and it's something that we're working on now and trying to get guys. And really, I think it ends up putting them in a better position to make the play that we're looking to have them make. And also, take the head out of the tackle at times where we can avoid some of those concussion issues. They've also really pushed. They kind of talk about the strike zone. Just like baseball has a strike zone. So the umpires might not like it, but knees to shoulders. Maybe that's a little high for the Major League Baseball. But yeah, that's kind of the area that we're talking to our guys about. Is when we're going to make contact, we want to stay in that strike zone, and that's going to help eliminate, like you mentioned, the penalty issues, and also hopefully help player safety. So. Those are a couple things we've been pushing this year, and we'll see how that pays off for us here in the future. So.
As you go into this season, looking at your roster, you only got 3 quarterbacks. Is that a concern? How are you approaching it? How are you protecting Logan?
Yeah. I mean, certainly it's a concern. We really have 5 quarterbacks that are able to play. I mean, Zach Hiller is still able to play quarterback. And we're working with another young guy to kind of cross-train just so that we're kind of covering ourselves, able to play our JV games, those types of things. But, Logan's health is of paramount importance to our football team, regardless if we had 20 quarterbacks, So, we're going to have to be smart, with how we utilize him. That's a challenge. That's a challenge for Coach Wheeler because it's easy to want to do everything that he can do. He's such a great runner. He's a true, I think, dual threat quarterback. And so, but at the same time, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to be getting him struck, 10, 12, 15 times a game unnecessarily. So the great thing, and our coaches understand this, and this is one of the great things I think about our program, is we don't really care what our statistics are. We care about, our team. And so we're not going to do things with Logan Schrader. Maybe it makes it harder for him to win some award at the end of the year or whatever, just to try to pile up his statistics or get more rushing yards or score more points or this or that. We're going to try to do what we think we have to do to win games and to be able to win games at the end of the year when they matter. And so that's the same thing. We're going to rotate backs in there, try to keep people fresh, so that when we're playing in big games in week 9, 10, 11, we've still got, everybody's got a full tank of gas and is healthy and can be who they really are. So, yeah, we're going to have to be smart with Logan. There's no doubt about it. Hopefully, our offensive line will keep him protected and he won't take too many hits. And he's a tough guy. There's no question about that. So, injuries are always important for you to reach the goal. Any football team this time of year, for them to reach the goals that they have set out for themselves, you've got to manage injuries, and you've got to be, fortunate to not have those serious injuries to your key people.
Coach, like you said, you basically return an all-conference starter at almost every position, but that offensive line, obviously, where you do lose the most graduation. I know you kind of touched on it earlier, but just, I guess, if you could elaborate what you've seen from these younger guys and what, everybody watching can expect from them this season.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's still going to be 3 seniors in that group. Bronson Tatum will be our left tackle, and he's played a lot of football for us. And he's, a monster. He's big, he looks just like you'd think an offensive lineman should look. Our left guards, first-team all-conference player, is a senior, Chase Wilhelms. Our center, Nolan Boyd, has been working in our program and is a junior. He's, weighs 270 pounds, and, he just needs reps. He just needs experience in games. Ben Larson, has 2 years left to play, but, hasn't played football for 18 months. That's probably his biggest issue right now, is just trying to get back into the flow of football. And so, but he's a guy that we were excited about 2 years ago, before he got hurt. So, and then, our right tackle, Nick Jensen, started, I think, the first half of the season last year when Bronson had an injury that kept him from playing. So there's only juniors or seniors in that first group, and they have a pretty fair amount of experience as a group, but offensive lines have to play together. They have to mesh together, and so this group still has to kind of figure all that out of playing as a unit, the communication that goes with that. Those are things we're still, trying to get better at. Leadership is so important, and we lost a great leader out of that line, so somebody's got to step up and fill that void. And so those are the things that we're working on. But if we trotted those 5 guys out there or in here to show them to you, they'd look like an offensive line. So we're not panicked about it. They just need to get some experience. All right, thank you.